All right, we're live. Welcome to 4th and 10 right here on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, wherever else you're listening. Hopefully, it's none of those. Hopefully, you're live with us on YouTube. And if you are, you know it looks a little bit different than it has the past few months. We did have to
We're
go
poor.
virtual this week.
We're poor. We can't pay our studio bill because you guys
We
aren't
gotta-
smashing the like button and subscribing. It's
Look at
actually
that.
your fault.
It's your fault we got evicted.
That's how that works,
we're
right?
trying to be great. That's
That's how that
exactly
works,
how
right?
it works. Yeah, I mean, you're the business mind. So if you say that's how it works, that's how it works. My name is Nathan Owens. You can find me on Twitter at Nathan Owens Comedy, Instagram, TikTok, Nathan Owens Comedy, or NathanOwensComedy.com. Damon Sumner's with me.
What's going on, good people? Get at me on Instagram, TikTok, OnlyFans, Damon Jr. 2, DAMONJR at the number 2.
And Dan Duncan.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Hit that cold plunge. Get in that cold water. At Dan Dunk on Instagram for all the hot takes, cold plunges.
Yeah, and like Dan said, hit the like button, hit subscribe, get notifications. You know, put a comment down. Even if the comment's hateful, it helps the algorithm. So if you don't like something about my face, just throw it in the comments and let's just see what happens. You know, anything and everything helps. So we'll do that. Also, patreon.com/4th and 10 if you want to hear our pre-show bonus episode. We have one every single week. You go over there right now. We just talked about me getting towed in Wilmington. So if you want to hear that story, I don't anymore, but I'm gonna have to edit it. But anyway, let's jump right into it. Let's do this. First topic. Also, shout out to Sterling Davis jumping into the chat with us. We appreciate
Hurling,
you.
what up, brother?
Forge. What a great name. Sterling Q Davis. You sound like a celebrity.
Quality. That's a quality name
That's
right there.
Anybody who does the middle initial, there's a part of me that's just like, I think you're smarter than me.
Yeah,
just
it's just
something-
His black parents were intentional about that name. I'm gonna tell you right now. They're like, we gonna have
Sterling
a good
Q.
young man in our hands. Sterling? Oh, Sterling. I don't know no Sterlings who are hooligans. You hear me? All Sterlings I know are business professionals. Ain't no Sterling out here in the streets like that. No, they are settled down with a cardigan on right now and a frappuccino.
I feel like Sterling was the friend that you told your parents was going to be there so that they would let you go.
Oh yeah, you can go. Sterling gonna be there. I love Sterling.
Yeah, Sterling's
Tell his
gonna be
mother
there.
I said hello. Tell Miss Shirley.
That's
I
funny,
said
you
hello.
guys. Sterling was the kid in our high school that sold drugs.
Was it a white Sterling? It was a white Sterling,
yeah.
wasn't it? Oh,
It was a
yeah,
white
you
Sterling.
can't trust the white Sterling. That's you can't trust.
Oh, what's funny is you saw a black Sterling in your mind, and I saw a white Sterling in my mind.
Well, my mind actually is only in black and white, so it makes a lot of sense that way out here. 'Cause I don't have any color. I don't know what y'all dreams look like out here. I've actually never met a white Sterling. All jokes aside, and I would go the other way. I would cross the street on a white Sterling. That's like a white Tyrone. That is a bad combination. It's like, what is going on here? What? I can't trust that. Y'all drink Tampico. I'm out. I gotta go.
What is the black person with what's the white name with a black person you cross the street on?
Oh, if I ever saw a black gunner, a black Asher, I gotta get out of there. I'm gonna tell you right now. Yeah, nah. His black mom is in a white fraternity. And I can't have that. I gotta get out of there respectfully. They are in the upside down. We have to leave this party today. No, a black Asher? Are you crazy? No. Get out of there, brother. He's got a choke chain on and only shops at Hot Topic. We have to leave today. He has a Blue Lives Matter shirt. We gotta go right now.
Whoa.
I'm just letting you know. Am I wrong? Let me know, y'all. If you're watching the show, listening to the show. If you see a white Tyrone or a black Asher, you got to get out of wherever you are. Leave the premises.
All right, let's start this show by talking a little bit about Caitlin Clark. She breaks the all-time scoring record in NCAA basketball history. It was one of the most
just for
watched
girls,
basketball
right?
games.
Just for girls, right?
All time. She beat Pistol Pete's record.
Pistol Pete.
Across all basketball.
Good for a girl. Good for a girl.
Dan's feeling much safer virtually. Dan doesn't get. He's not getting the in-person rush.
No,
so he's like, what can I do to kind of what is the Delta 8 of Dan's in-person rush?
I just haven't been here for a few weeks. I need to get some things off my chest. Keep going.
Caitlin Clark, statistically the greatest basketball player of all time, collegiately. Anyway, it's one of the most watched basketball games of all time. Brought in more than the Celtics and the Warriors, who were also playing that day. The tickets were more expensive than that. She also, and I didn't realize this, she broke the viewer ratings for Wemby's debut.
Crazy.
Wemby, the greatest prospect since LeBron, fell to Caitlin Clark. So basically, one, do you consider her one of the greatest college athletes of all time? That's kind of it. Who else is on that list? I don't think we're going to argue that she's not, but who else is possibly on that list? And Dan specifically, is this going to get you to tune in to the WNBA at all? Or are you still, because you're not out on NBA or you're not really in NBA, WNBA. I want to state that. Dan's not anti-women's basketball.
Sure.
No.
Dan's just not the biggest pro basketball
Sure.
supporter. Right. But I want to know, is something like Caitlin Clark, is that pushing you potentially off the fence on a Saturday afternoon?
Well, let me say this because he's got two questions to answer. So let me hop in here first real quick. One, she is without a question one of the best college basketball hoopers of all time. We can get into all the stuff we want to, but this big picture, that's one. Two, I think I was thinking about this the other day. I think Caitlin Clark right now in the phenomenon last year started it, this year took it to a whole nother stratosphere. This moment in time for her in the world of basketball, right? From the views to how she's impacting money to attendance for conferences, selling out to all the things, NIL. This may be this. I think this is a top 3, especially in the world of social media, etc. So all context matters. I think this moment for her is top 3 moment in basketball hype, awareness, excitement, buzz, all those words. I think it's a top 3 all-time moment for basketball. I was thinking about other things. I can't think of, since LeBron, I can't think of, and a lot of things have changed with the internet and social media, so that context matters. But there's been so many great men and women coming out, right? Going to the pros. I'm not going to go through all of them, but Zion a few years ago, Wemby this past year, you go back and back, you think about greats, both on the men's side and in the women's side. You take that into context, right? And in totality, I was like, all right, well, let me think about Linsanity. Then I started trying to find moments, right? When Jordan came back, when LeBron went to Miami, like, you know what I'm saying? But when you sit back, I was kind of reading a few articles and looking at all the things that her impact is changing. I was like, yo, this is going to go down in the history of sports. And if you go into basketball specifically, as I think a top 3 moment wave, those type of words in basketball history. It's been absolutely fascinating to watch personally, in general as a sports fan, too, as a father of 2 daughters, and just overall, being on a sports podcast. It's been really dope to watch for sure for me.
Okay. I'm going to say some things. But first, let me say this. I will agree on one point, which is that this in the last, you can only name 2 or 3 moments in the college basketball realm that are as big as this since Steph Curry made a deep run in the NCAA tournament. Yep. There's probably only 2 or 3 moments that have hit the Richter scale, if I am being just as neutral as possible in the situation that this moment is having. Because, to be honest, college basketball has been on a downward trend from a talent level, the Europe, pulling from Europe, pulling from it is potentially where college football is going to go as more and more there are other outlets to get into the highest professional ranks.
Right.
Caitlin Clark is a great story. She is a marketing machine for Nike, and you are watching it happen in front of your eyes, where she is becoming the next LeBron back to Cleveland. Like that, from a marketing standpoint, the last moment that this happened with Nike, where they were like put all of the money behind one person, was LeBron, Cleveland. We're all in this together. He's going to chase a championship, and that like speaks to the whole world in some capacity. All of these things are great. And honestly, I don't want to diminish anything Caitlin Clark is doing because she is a fantastic basketball player.
Thanks.
I also think that there is this cultural, like, this is happening in an election year where you have two sides of people where like there are people raising their hands and championing Caitlin Clark. Real sports fans, Damon, I put you in this category, who understand the historicity of it all and like are not politicizing this thing. Like, just transparently, I'm looking back, like there are people that are like pro Caitlin Clark just for the sake of women's basketball and by association women, by association equality, by association here's my stump speech politically. And then there's the other side of the spectrum that is just like women's basketball, which everyone, I made a joke at the beginning and it is what it is, but like women's basketball diminishing, not a big deal. She is the puppet to Nike and this marketing mainstream media machine and the watering down of, all of our cultural values of loving greatness. And therefore that political side of the spectrum. And so honestly, I think it's like partially as big a deal as it is because it's a political thing more than it is an athletic thing. And I think Caitlin Clark is great. And I think that she shouldn't be diminished at all for what she's doing. I think it will go down in the history books as one of the greatest college basketball moments. The rest of it, I probably can't get on board with, but it is a great moment. And I just also think that people are making it, are riding hard for the moment, consciously or subconsciously because of the space our country is in, transparently. That's my take.
It's I personally don't want to get into it too much because that's just who I am as a person. But I'm intrigued just for tangent for just a moment about because I think those were some really solid points and kind of POVs you kind of just shared there. But from that statement, and I've kind of had a few of the conversations. It is 2024, so I feel like more statements I've been hearing about. But like, if we could go down the tangent for just a half a second, just to kind of tell our listeners about us for just a second. Did y'all grow up in a house or have a parent or close friends, whatever, where politics, government mattered a lot, was talked about, was watched a lot, viewed a lot? Because I did absolutely not. The word politics and government was only talked about in school for 50 minutes, 3 days a week. And so as far as, the POV of thinking through things, when I hear people say things are not just Dan, but in general, right? Things are political. Anything can be political. Be honest with you. I hear a joke about pumpkin pie gentrification can be political, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just intrigued on that. Just real quick on a personal level here about that, because that was some really good POV you brought up.
I mean, I definitely knew who my parents were voting for. As
like middle school, high school kid?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that my parents brought it up. I think it was my parents are are part of the generation of you don't bring up money, you don't bring up religion, you don't bring up politics.
Sure.
And so no, I don't.
In
I don't
conversation,
remember them,
like just with friends and family, you don't bring those up. Taboo.
No, I don't. I don't remember them ever bringing that up.
Okay.
I remember like growing up, I knew who disagreed with them politically.
Sure.
Like I knew who the liberal aunt was. And I knew who my parents were voting for, but it wasn't something.
You said the word liberal. You weren't using that word liberal with your parents at 16, were you? Or were you not?
No.
Or conservative, or whatever the case may be.
Conservative, liberal. No, it was
Okay.
red versus blue. It was very, at least what I took in was very simple.
I got you. But you knew it and it was around it. It was a part of y'all ethos as a family.
Yeah, and I never, I don't remember my dad or mom ever dismissing anything as a political stunt. In anything like that. It just didn't come up. I also don't think, and I know people say this a lot, like America's always been political, everything's always been political. I don't think things were politicized so quickly growing up. And maybe that's me in a bit of a bubble. But I don't feel like things became I think I mean, just being a little ignorant, it was much easier to enjoy things without thinking of the national ramifications. Like I think like we watched Tony Romo date Jessica Simpson. Never once was there a thought that there was any political purpose behind them dating.
For you as a 21-year-old.
Yeah, whenever they dated, there was never a discussion of that I heard on TV.
Versus you're contrasting that to Taylor Swift and
I mean,
saying that there was an agenda.
You had the quarterback of the probably one of the most popular teams in America.
Facts.
Dating a reality star, a singer, and never once did they think it was anything other than a publicity stunt for them.
Gotcha.
Or talking about how she was ruining his career and she's a curse.
Sure.
Yes.
What about
so
you,
there's definitely stuff like that, but it never came up that he or her was a sleeper agent for a candidate or anything. Yeah. So I would say that to me is the difference, even within my own bubble. I think, things just were not so politicized as much.
I'll just say like one thing, and then I'll answer the question, David. Sure. Like we have lived. Our generation has lived between the McCarthyism and today. So like it hasn't all. It's like not like you look backwards and you look at a world that's like void of political polarization. Right. And fear mongering on all sides. Like that existed. It existed in the 60s and 70s around the spread of communism and who was a communist agent. And that was the last time you had this where there's communists everywhere. They were inside the walls, and like, how are we going to get rid of them? And people seize power based off of that fear. So like for me, like as a person who has studied history since the time, like taking as many history classes as I possibly could from the time I was a freshman in high school till I graduated college. I love this stuff. Like this is outside of sports, like watching the social dynamics play themselves out and watch people value trend their lives so that they can say who they're for without having to say who they're for, because we don't talk about politics, but people will align themselves to specific moments to be like, look, I am in this category, because if you say this, you don't have to talk about your politics, but you can by association not piss anyone off, but say who I'm for. And then when someone's like, oh, that means this, you're like, I'm not going to talk about that. But you've made the statement. So I think watching people ride hard, and again, I'm not saying this about you, Damon. I am saying this about a general trend that I watch and see in culture. And it's so funny to me how, again, you have more and more the algorithms of our social media pushing us into these categories as well. Sure. Whether it's like, oh, you're into this, you're into these stand-up comics, as we talk about that, these pundits within sports media, these athletes who also subscribe to this type of leaning. I saw a post yesterday. So there's a lot of ultra marathon runners that I've begun to follow. And there was one that was like, alt-right, hardcore thing I've ever seen posted publicly. I was just like, basically it was like the government's covering for your souls if you give up your guns. And I was just like, holy crap. But like by me engaging with him, how much does that pull me into these echo chambers that I want nothing to do. But I think sports is, to answer your question, Damon, I talked a lot growing up. I think sports is the way that like most people communicate political affiliation. Colin Kaepernick would be the last like one that everyone could be like, what side of that situation were you on? And I can put it with a pretty solid degree of like confidence, say if you fall on this side of that thing, you would have voted this way. And I think that's interesting that it does that. It's not surprising, but it is interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Just was intrigued on that here. About that Jim, what you brought up here.
I think we're in an era where it's very tough to be neutral on stuff.
You think so?
Like, I think to be publicly neutral on things that are polarizing like this. Like if you're walking down the street and you ask, we'll say if you're in a friend group and Caitlin Clark gets brought up, and somebody within that group goes, I don't really care about that. You immediately make some judgments.
Yep.
If they don't give any. If they don't give any context of like, oh, I don't watch basketball, or if they don't give any context of who they are, then your first interaction with them is, I don't really care that Caitlin Clark broke the record. You're immediately making snap judgments about who they are and how much they care about and respect women's sports. And maybe I'm confessing this myself right now because I definitely.
Well, you had to qualify as soon as we started talking about it, and I made the joke. You were like, but Dan doesn't watch basketball. It's okay, guys.
He did try to give you a parachute real quick, didn't he?
And I didn't need a parachute. I think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a historical moment.
Yeah, and I do think part of that is because women's sports has been looked down on so much that it is within the context of history. Once you start becoming neutral, you do tend to align yourselves with the kind of people that disregard women's sports, and that sucks. It sucks that you kind of have to have an opinion on this kind of stuff, or you get grouped in with, I would say, more hateful type people.
Yeah, I don't. It's interesting. I think this is an interesting chat. One, again, shout out to Caitlin Clark for all the great things that she's doing. This conversation got more nuances to it here, which is good, I think. Because the neutral aspect is interesting to me in the sense of like, if it's something that's heated, right? You take stuff going on overseas, you take politics, that stuff right there. I definitely agree with your statement. But stuff, and this is again preference, upbringing, right? You know, who our fabric of who we are ties into all of it. But like for if you know me well, if I don't care about it, I don't care about it. And there's a lot of things I don't care about that people care about because it just doesn't get into these walls here with the people I love the most, right? So, you know, when you say, if somebody said your statement was, I think you shrugged your head, you was like, I don't really care about that. To me, I took that like, man, he don't like sweet potato pie. Like I wouldn't off top personally think any type of way. I would go a strong neutral, whereas somebody else, and I want to put words in your mouth, Nate, you would start beginning to lean and start maybe adding some conjecture and some assumptions based off of their responses. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, I definitely think we're entering a time where, for me personally, I want context, and maybe that's it. When you say you don't care about Caitlin Clark, or you say, oh, I don't care about this record. Okay, well, like, why? Is it because you don't like basketball? Is it because you don't like college basketball?
Why do you need that information, though? What does that pertain to you?
I think because, and look, I hope none of my family's watching because I've had to have these conversations after I've said stuff like this on the podcast. I think I grew up in a somewhat passive-aggressive kind of way that people danced around their hot takes. And there's like a part of me that's always, now at this point in my life, I'm always like, what do you mean by that? Because the older that I got, the more I looked back and saw, oh, this is what they meant. When they called people this, they
were
meant
really saying
like
that.
Yeah, and so maybe that's the context to when
okay.
I see it, where I'm just like, I need to know, because like there's a lot of people in my life that have said I am not, or said like, oh, I don't like the WNBA.
Sure.
Which on the surface is fine.
Right.
But then when you delve more into it, and then it gets to a point where they're like, oh no, I don't my daughter doesn't play basketball because I don't want to go to her games. Like, and then you go, okay, well, then your statement about the WNBA was a little bit deeper than you just being
A
neutral.
little more PTSD at the bottom of that barrel if I dig deep.
Yeah, like something happened. Did you get dunked on by a woman? Like,
yeah. She monstered me, bro, in 8th grade intramurals, and it was over for me. You
yeah,
understand?
did Lisa Leslie cross you up in like
Yeah.
1994, and you were like, never again?
It was over for me.
So yeah, so and look, I'm happy to be pushed back. If this is the time where I am the one that is being too concerned with people who are neutral, I would love to accept that. And for me to be able to relax, but also the way that my brain works, I'm like, I want context to your neutrality.
Well, I think that there is a push towards, like, you cannot claim, like, it. Everyone's things matter so much to them now that when you come across someone that says, "Oh, that doesn't matter to me," it screams like, "Oh, you're choosing to be ignorant, bury your head in the sand, like you don't care about people. You have the luxury of privilege." And people, so the majority culture is so concerned with being perceived as giving up, or at least being conscious of their privilege, that especially in the culture and the worlds that we walk in, and to be known as an ally, an advocate, all of these words. And I think there is especially when you live in the city and you are surrounded by lots of diverse worldviews, you don't want to be found out. You try to make sure that, like, you're educated and able to speak to all the things. And I would say a lot of us who are neutral on things that, like, normally just should be taken as neutral, you end up leaning a direction primarily just to, like, qualm the hate, or like to be put in a camp that's like, and this is why I think you have forgive the terminology because I don't agree with it, but like the wokeness component to things right now, where people are like the Joe Rogans of the world. I'm just gonna say it, and why that I think like resonates with people is because people are like, oh, thank God he said it, and he's not worried about being canceled for having a hot take about something that isn't correlated to your political stances on things. You can just say, I don't enjoy the WNBA because it's slow-ass basketball, and I don't enjoy it. And someone could be like, that's such a bad take. You obviously don't know basketball. You might be right, but that's where it stops. Like, there's not the conjecture of, oh, you're a hardcore, make America great again pundit over here, all because you made one statement that women's basketball is slow and I don't enjoy watching it.
Ooh, this conversation. We started off hot with this. This is good. All right, last thing I'll say about this, in general, from my dad POV with women's sports is I don't know what my girls are gonna not do long term, but right now I have very intentional for my son as well for women's sports. Let me be very clear. I have very intentional. I'm being very intentional with awareness, with putting women in any shape, form, not just sports. Be very clear, but specifically, we're talking sports. In front of them, before them, podcasts, books, etc. We went to the Atlanta Vibe. It's a new professional league, volleyball. Couture's a big fan of volleyball, so that was already a step. Mission plays volleyball. He enjoys it in school. So it was already a win. And then they had a new team, new women's league. Atlanta Vibe, very fun time. I've never been. Y'all ever been to the Gas South Arena in Duluth? I had never been there. Dan, Nate, y'all ever been there?
It's been a while. I think it was the energy thing last time I'd gone.
Yeah. It was a dope time. It was a dope event experience in general. That was dope. Couture's gonna be out of town in a couple weeks. I got them, so we're going to Mercedes-Benz to watch U.S. Women's soccer play Japan. And so it's just interesting. Context matters, right? So my motions in general, I love sports, I love fun, I love competition. So if you're giving me a good product that I enjoy, I'm all in. And then for my POV as a father, especially as a girl dad ×2, it has been something I've been even more keenly aware of, and for a son to respect women and care about women, et cetera, support women. It has been something that's been a driving force in many ways. So good stuff.
There we go. Well, let us know what you think. To hop into the chat, all this kind of stuff. Let's bash men for a little bit.
Ooh,
Let's
well,
do
we know
that.
how
Let's-
we lean on this podcast.
Let's see how we lean.
Hashtag
Because
dicks
some-
are dumb.
Dicks are
Dumb.
they're so dumb. They're so dumb. They look
No,
dumb.
they're really
Alright,
dumb. Like all jokes, they're really dumb. It's like, why
Very
do I have
stupid.
an erection right now at this funeral? That's a dumb dick. Like, don't do that.
Ugh.
That's dumb. Dumb.
Don't ever take me back to middle school. But
Ugh.
let's talk about the Chicago Bulls, specifically former Chicago Bulls, because Luke Langley, Scottie Pippen, and Horace Grant are going on tour. I don't know what that means. Tour.
Cities, baby. They're going on city runs.
Okay,
they're
just for
just-
clarity, they are going on tour in Australia. That is the only place they've been invited right now. Just for clarity, before people don't think that we know what we're talking about. The
Yeah.
only place they get to do this I Hate Michael tour is a place that I don't know that he's ever played basketball. Just for clarity.
Yeah, so they're down under, and the whole point of this tour is to have a counterpoint to The Last Dance, potentially the greatest sports documentary of all time. Came out in 2020, so this is 4 years in the making of them going, because we're approaching, if we haven't already hit it, the 4-year anniversary of The Last Dance, and they're going around, which all these guys were involved in The Last Dance.
They got paid. They got paid.
They got paid. I don't know what residuals look like for Netflix documentaries, but it's on Netflix.
Mm.
It plays on ESPN. Like, they're doing fine. Also, they are 6-time champions. At least some of Scottie Pippen is a 6-time champion. Horace Grant, at least 3 or 4. Same thing with Langley. So it's crazy to me that they're doing this. I also don't know who is showing up to this.
Well, okay, so there's context. We just talked about this. Scottie Pippen is the face of the Australian Professional Basketball Association. He is the spokesperson. He is the dude over there. Apparently, there wasn't a lot of options. The point though is that like this is 3 dudes that oftentimes surround themselves in an echo chamber, and no one told them don't do this. This does not play well. You sound ungrateful, and you are going to come across trying to gain ground on the most respected athlete in the world. Like, he is a rock star of proportions that these 3 can't even fathom. And that doesn't mean he's a great human. That doesn't mean he was always fun to be around. That doesn't mean that he did the right things all the time. It just means that there's no moral high ground to get here, and yet they're going to try to take it. And that's silly. And this is literally connected to what we just did. There is no morality in sports. It's fun. It doesn't matter. It inspires us because we get to watch the physical capabilities of people who are also just like have their own ish that they're dealing with. And these 3 are going to go try to like moralize sports and demoralize Michael Jordan by saying like the documentary got it wrong, and we're going to sit on stage and tell you the real story and not invite Michael and not say like, but he at least gave us the opportunity to say our piece in that thing, but we're going to do it without him. And it's so stupid. It is so stupid.
And without question, and I think the only word that we all can call this is trash. This is absolutely trash. That's this is embarrassing. I want to be honest. This is 3 grown men in their 50s to 60s. Luke Longley is also in Australia. He was one of the first Australian players to play in the league as well. So they also have to go there one place where they knew they could kind of get some stage time. It's trash on many levels. On one level, I'm gonna go through this really quick. On one level, it's trash because we got money. We ain't got nothing else to do. That's off top. Number 2, I hope you get to the highest peak professionally, probably financially, that you've been able to get to. Number 3, I don't know who did your market research. Nobody cares big picture about you and your qualms you have with a sports icon, legend, right? Goat of goats type of vibe here. And 4, okay, nobody wants to hear you talk about something on stage that happened ages ago that ain't really like legal. Like this ain't Diddy stuff. We ain't bringing out no R. Kelly stuff. Like that's hot take. That's tea. Yo, give me the goss, big dog. You finna talk about how he might have kicked you in your stomach at practice in 1993? Man, get out of here. What are you talking about? I'm so disappointed in these grown men who like, yo, let's go get 3 stools, sit on a stage with 2,000 people, pay $80 to $200 to hear us talk about something that happened in 97 when we won a championship. And this is crazy. This is a trash move. This is a trash move by them, yo. It's crazy to me. It's really crazy.
It's and also what this tells me. What I don't know who decided to go on tour.
I don't know who,
but there's also a part of me that's like, does this mean that every single podcast turned them down? Because this is a story you can tell on a podcast, and I'm gonna guess that before they decided on a tour, they reached out.
They could have went on
like the Players Tribune. They could have done a Players Tribune like mini film that was like an open letter to the the second to last dance. Like they could have had so much fun with the naming and be like, we want to tell our side of the story uncut, whatever. Here's
their own podcast, The Real Dance.
Like, I did watch the trailer. I did watch the trailer, and here's what I do. Here's really where I want this to go, because the trailer did something to me that I want to talk about in this black and white culture thing that we get to dive into on our podcast uniquely. Damon, since David's not here, I find it so fascinating when like if you just put 3 white dudes and one white guy says something and the other 2 white guys laugh, like everyone moves on with the statement.
For sure.
When a black man says something confidently and the other 2 like guys on stage drop their head and snicker, like you think that it's like they just like said the most powerful defining statement, and I found myself for a moment like gaslit and to be like, oh, they got something to say about Michael. Like the power of the drop your head snicker, like, oh, he got him. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Do you see this in like the barber, like is that come from like the barber shop culture where it's just like the one liner and then everyone else snickers in agreement and it's like, oh, now it's truth? Because it felt I was watching this trailer and I was like, oh, I actually kind of want
no, that barbershop cafeteria table, on the corner, that vibe right there is quintessential. I mean, you think about battle rapping, like you hit the line, the roar, that line, all that ties in. There's a cultural element of that for sure, especially when you're talking about mixed company, right? Because there's a gravitation, respectfully, that comes there, right? So it's like, oh, let me lean in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, shut up. He got something to say, as you said out here. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's funny, whether it's passionate, right? Whatever the case may be. I didn't even know there was a trailer. You have now opened my eyes to something new.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Trailer for the tour.
Yeah. There's like this moment on stage where Horace Grant says something and like Scottie Pippen drops his head and just laughs like, oh, he got him. And I was just like, oh, I kind of, yeah. And then I came out of that moment and I was like, he didn't say anything important because it's not important. It's not important. But the way that you can react to something and just drop your head and be like, okay, like it was so funny to me.
I think I
got gaslit by Scottie Pippen.
One of the most frustrating things to me about this is I would be interested in hearing their story. I would be interested to a counterpoint to Michael Jordan stories.
Sure.
I am intrigued by that. I think 90s NBA it's a fascinating decade with extreme growth, with a ton of characters. I'm all in on more 90s NBA content.
Okay.
But for it to be a tour, for it to be a stage tour, like who's buying tickets to this? Who? If you are Australian, I know we have a couple Australian listeners. Let us know. Let us know if you and your mates are going down to the Sydney Opera House or wherever they have all this stuff. I don't know any other venues in Australia, if I'm being honest. Wembley, is that in Australia? Let me know if you guys are heading down to Southern Wembley and you guys are going to watch this, as Sterling put it, is the X Bulls tour. Like, I just don't understand the appeal of this as a show. I also am very curious as a comedian, what is the format of your show? Do you have a warm-up act? Do you have an opener? Do you
Oh, bro,
have
I
a
was
band?
talking about, I thought, like, what is the production? Y'all gonna have, I need to see video. You better not just sit on that stage in suits for 90 minutes talking to me about OBS. I need a production. Come on, man. Trash.
Let us know if you're gonna go see the X Bulls live. Let us know. All right, let's talk. We got about 20 minutes left. I want to talk about Jimmy Butler jumping into the Fall Out Boy music video.
Jimmy.
Did we all see that? Because Jimmy Butler, he starts
Go
the
Dogs.
year.
Big Dogs fan.
Go Dogs. Georgia's own Jimmy Butler. So at the start of the year, if you don't know some context around Jimmy Butler, every year for NBA Media Day, he shows up with an insane haircut. That's just what he started doing, forcing the media to use that picture the rest of the year anytime they talk about him. This year he shows up with emo hair. So hair straightened and spiked into his eyes, black dado, all the stuff. One, we all laugh. Everybody is mad. Emo Jimmy shows up. Emo Jimmy makes a return in Fall Out Boy's latest music video. He's dressed Prince-ish, I guess. He's got the emo hair.
You say that just because he's black? You just say that he's black because he's got black and straight hair?
He's got black straight hair. He's got a shirt with he's got kind of a puffy shirt and I think a purple jacket.
Okay. The purple, the puffy. Okay, you're getting me in. You're getting me into the world of Prince now.
Context.
Yeah, no. If he was just in jeans and a t-shirt, and I was like, he looks like Prince.
Look at Prince. Look at him.
He doesn't even have the emo hair. That's just what I call all black people that I see around music.
Look at Prince.
Look at Prince. Anybody who doesn't rap, I call Prince.
Jeez.
Did you guys know Prince is blind? I had no idea.
Plays the piano too.
He plays the piano. He's blind. I had no idea he was so good on the trumpet. I really had no idea that Prince. It's crazy.
Bad
Did you know
Boys
Prince
4.
did?
Look at Prince.
Yeah. I love the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's one of my favorite Prince shows. Anyway, I love this so much. I love Emo Jimmy making a return. I love Fall Out Boy. This was a absolutely perfect collab for me. What do y'all think? I'm very curious.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I thought Fall Out Boy. I thought they've been gone for a long time. Are they still cooking?
They still throw stuff out every once in a while. Like they did the Ghostbusters. They did the new Ghostbusters theme in one of the movies.
They get back in the band. They did a couple moments.
Yeah, they did a recreation of "We Didn't Start the Fire" for our generation. It's not great, but also it's a recreation of a not great song. So they didn't have a ton to work with.
I mean, to be clear, they are early 2000s band, right? Am I accurate with that?
Yeah, I think Sugar We're Going Down was 04, 05.
Okay. I feel like I've heard the name for like 20 years. Okay. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah,
I mean, time. Go ahead.
It's fun. It's fun. I love Jimmy Butler. I think he has a way of showing up in lots of worlds, and you're always surprised when he is a fan of your thing. I was blown away that he was as big a Georgia football fan as he was. But I really appreciate playing the traditional media against their worlds and just like turning it on its head and
Sure.
playing within the rules, but finding ways to like push to break the system so it
Yeah.
doesn't quite work how they need it to. And Fall Out Boy is fun. I think this was we weren't gonna talk about Fall Out Boy unless they put Jimmy Butler in the video. So kudos to them for convincing Jimmy Butler to come out and be Prince.
Just
Who's,
for
who's,
the record,
Oh, go ahead.
Dan, anytime you want to talk about Fall Out Boy, let me know.
Who's-
Anytime this podcast wants to talk about Fall Out Boy, let's do it. I'm going to open and close this episode with Fall Out Boy.
Look at that.
It's incredible.
You're
It
good.
makes my heart warm. It makes me grow. It makes me stand taller when I hear Fall Out Boy. I love him so much.
Do you know? What's
You
let's
should
take Fall Out Boy
listen to
off
Fall
the-
Out Boy and go ahead.
I was just gonna ask real quick here, back to Zoom Life, pausing. I was gonna just say, who this is a question, and you can go first with the answer, Dan, and say your other statement as well. But I'm intrigued now about, is there a nostalgic band, group, music artist that you would be willing and excited to get into a music video with them?
Well, that's a good question, because you can't just be like Dave Matthews, because like music videos wasn't his thing.
No.
Dan,
I also think about
real quick. One thing I learned living with Dan Duncan, maybe the only person that I know that truly, sincerely loves Dave Matthews. I know so many people that enjoy Ants Marching and a couple others. They're just like, Dave Matthews is fine. Dan, when I heard Dan ask his Alexa to play Dave Matthews,
Ooh, big talk.
that's
big
when I was like, oh, this is different.
Dave
And then
Matthews
he
is
skipped Ants Marching.
the Dave Matthews is probably the third or fourth best guitarist that's ever lived.
No context of the sentence. No context.
If you ask any guitarist like hit like about Dave Matthews, what he did with a guitar kind of like redefined possibilities. So I digress.
I just want to know how any band that is named after a person, how that works. How Dave convinced everybody else to be part of Dave Matthews Band.
Hey, get your money.
Like,
up,
if
bro.
we were doing this podcast, because we've talked a couple times about different names. If I was like, hey guys, can we rename this Nathan Owens Podcast? That would not happen.
Oh boy.
So how did Dave get it? Because the lead guy is Dave, right?
Yeah, because he was a solo act, and then they added like a full consistent band.
There it is.
It's insane. Dan, what about you? Is there a, and I know there's musical artists that you would jump into. Is there a emo pop rock band that if they called you for some UGC stuff, like your stomach would flip? You'd be like, I cannot believe I'm doing this.
Did he freeze? What happened?
Oh, I thought
I
you
asked.
after you
I
Damon
did.
what okay.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I thought, I was like, man, Damon's really taking a pause on this comedically to say no.
Oh, my bad. I misheard that. That's so. I was looking at Dan like, what is Dan doing? No, I cannot think of. Two things. One, if I had to go in that space, probably Paramore. I'd probably rap Paramore to the
Okay.
Okay.
And then in kind of the hip hop R&B space, probably Missy Elliott. Her music videos alone, from her music alone, were so fun and funky and different. You know what I mean? And wild. Being in a Missy Elliott video would just I'd probably be on there like popping and twerking on a chain because music makes you lose your control. But you understand what I'm saying? But yeah, Paramore and Missy be the two that come to my mind.
Yeah, man, this is great. Anytime y'all want to talk about mid 2000s, like we can talk Yellow Card, we can talk the Madden soundtracks.
I gotta go back and listen to Fall Out Boy. I don't know what's their number one hit. Where would I start with?
I mean, Sugar We're Going Down is the first time, at least for me, they were really on the map.
Huh? Yeah,
That's 2005.
Portuguese.
Yeah, from Under the Cork Tree, that album.
No. You're saying nothing to me right now. I need you to sing a hook or a bridge. You saying titles. I don't know the group. So
You know, Sugar, we're going down.
that word means nothing.
I cannot do it. I cannot do it justice at 9:58
I don't know
in the
it. If
morning.
you don't sing it like I'm in an elevator or the Mervins, I do not know it. It's simple as that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Twiddle My Thumbs is always hot by Yellow. What do you know?
Like this is gonna demonetize us or whatever that.
You keep bringing that up like we are pro.
I know, that's why I'm like whatever. Like you know this song.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. 14 years ago. Fall Out Boy. Yeah, that sounded like that was on like a Tony Hawk soundtrack. I got you.
It might have been. Yeah, man. So great.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's end. We'll end with one more quick one.
Let's go. Metro.
Man, I hate when I don't have it pulled
That's
up.
one of my phrases. I say that in the house all the time, and the kids are like, "Enough, father, enough." It's in my top 10. That first one is in my top 10 movies of all time, my man.
Let's do it. Because you've talked about this top 10 movies list.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Let's save it. I want to save it for David.
Okay. All right. Look,
It's
it's a tease. I thought after you did that, I was like, I want to do mine real quick. So I thought about this for a lot longer than I should have.
You know what? We can do this here. If we want, we can tease that we'll do our list because I've got like 5 or 6 that didn't make it. So we can do the honorable mentions and the ones that you like, would get out. Dan, you ever sat down and wrote out a top 10 list for your movies or TV shows?
No, but I would need to because like trying to riff off the top, I would miss some keys.
I don't even want you to disrespect the stuff you love off your dome. Don't even do that because I missed 3 and I saw like a visual and I was like, oh, that's got to be on my list, and I had totally forgot.
Yeah, I'll go through mine just real quick and then we'll end. We don't even need. We'll leave have we ever done a cliffhanger before?
Wait, hold on. You're saying you're about to go through your top 10 list and we pick up next week? Is that what have we ever done that? A part 2?
No, because we're not going to do that. Because I'm gonna rip apart every single one of your choices. Keep going.
Yeah, have fun. I'm gonna go 10-1 at number 10.
If there's a Christmas movie in this list, I'm gonna roast you so hard.
Here we go.
Dan, no spoilers. No spoilers, Dan.
Let's go.
Number 10, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay.
It's fine.
Easily one of the greatest comedies of all time. Number 9.
People. This is another value signaling thing. People love to put like this on the list just to be like, I'm smart enough to find what is a like fairly funny but not legendary movie funny. Like I'm smarter than everybody else. Keep going.
Right. No, this Monty Python and the Holy Grail. First off, it's not smart. They literally
launched
it
defending right
out
now.
of the
Give me your
castle.
10 through 1. Defend later.
Number 9, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Number 8, Baby Driver. Number 7, Lawless. Number 6, Muppet Christmas Carol. Number 5, Moneyball.
I knew he was gonna put it in there. Moneyball's great. I'm not gonna fight you on that one.
Number 4, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Number 3, Return of the Jedi. Number 2, Spider-Man 2. Number 1, The Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight is the only one on this list that I believe is not only my favorite, but is the greatest movie of all time. Everything else, I get. It's a preference thing. Favorite versus great is much different.
Yep.
Except when it comes to The Dark Knight. I truly think The Dark Knight is a perfect, flawless movie.
We talked about this last year, did we not?
Look, I
went back and watched them all.
I want to go back to Monty Python because Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it's not a movie that smart people convince you that they like. If anything, smart people want to downplay it because the jokes are dumb.
No, it is every trendy person I know that wants to be deemed as smarter than the rest of the room says Monty Python is great because the rest of the room is like, I mean, it's fine. It's kind of like Nate Bargatze comedy. Like everyone wants to say it and no one really gets it. but like everyone is like in the room being like, I kind of have to get this because it's so popular.
But I'm saying, what is there to get? Like, there's
Exactly.
literally a wizard
point.
who says his name is Tim. Nobody's
I know,
outsmarting that joke. It's just funny.
this is the
goes-
point. Most people
Like-
would say like that's cool, but like no one would be like, this is an all-time great moment in cinema.
When they open up,
You put this
They're
on your
doing
list, not me.
and we're doing the coconuts, it's fantastic. It's
Right.
Everything about it is so good. The historian getting killed in the middle of it. Being
I know,
like, the way that it
it's-
ends with them all getting arrested. Like, it's everything about it is just so a random musical number. I think the reason that you feel this way is because PBS is the one that showed the Monty Python Flying Circus, and you go, "Oh, it's on PBS, so it's for smart people." It's not.
No. I think again,
There's literally a sketch about the guy trying to return a dead parrot.
I
and
know
the pet
you
shop
are
owner
demeaning.
going, "It's not dead." It's not a
You're
smart show.
Right, you're demeaning it to say that you have to you have to be sophisticated enough to like find this like stupid humor funny. Like you listen to yourself. You are making a case for my case right now.
It
No
has
one
nothing
should
to do with
find these things.
sophistication. It's funny.
Look, follow your logic.
Funny is
None
funny.
of these things. None of these things are that funny. This is so dumb, and it's great. Did you listen to yourself?
I never said none of these things are that funny. I said the jokes are not sophisticated or complicated. They are simple
Exactly.
and beautiful. It is a chocolate chip
Exactly.
cookie, warm with a glass of milk. There's nothing crazy about it, but it's great every single time.
It is fine. It is a good movie. I enjoy like this is the thing we were talking about earlier. You can watch Monty Python the Holy Grail and enjoy it. I think that everyone should. It's funny. Damon would think it's really stupid, but if you grew up in a white household, you will think it's funny because you grew up especially if you're male, you grew up in a 9-year-old like middle school class where you did all the same stuff as this movie kind of touts as really funny. And again, I think it like hits a bone in my body that I also think is funny. But when people go as far as to say this breaks all the rules of cinema, they were brave, it's beautiful, the way that they are like subtly just twisting all of the cinema nuances on itself and like kind of layering in like it's layered jokes. Like you can enjoy it for like the top layer, like silly, but like when you go down, it's like a cultural manifesto around like the status quo. Like this is what people do with this film, and it's not that. It is silly. It is dumb. It is quite honestly something that is more like cotton candy than it is a like perfectly cooked cookie. And it's full of air and it's fun and it was meant to be fun. But I think most people that like rock with it as hard as you do want it to be this cultural manifesto of like nothing is real, nothing is serious. Like ride your coconuts into the sunset.
I don't even every bit in that movie is great. There is not a down moment in that entire film.
See?
Well.
Yeah. But yeah, Muppet Christmas Carol absolutely deserves a spot on this list.
Nate, when I hear things come out of your mouth, I have to ask myself, like, am I already in the upside down?
This is a question.
So Muppet Christmas Carol, one of the greatest stories of all time. We'll just go ahead and throw that out there.
I called it that your stupid list would have a great movie on it that shouldn't be on this list. See, this is the problem. Is now I have to take a stance against one of my favorite movies.
Now he's got to put a flag in his front yard because of your stupid movie.
Before you jump into this, let me ask you this. Are Christmas movies one of the greatest types of movies? Yes. Is this
I have till
Are you saying
10.
it's a movie genre? Or are you saying it's like
Oh, it's
what
10:08.
is it? What is it?
I'll be
Type
out
of
in a minute.
movies?
Tell
Huh?
them that we're discussing Muppet Christmas Carol. Whoever's trying to get you out of that room, you know what? Bring them in. I want to talk to them.
No, absolutely.
Christmas
I
movie
might-
is one of the greatest.
I'm leaving.
Our
if you do
studio
that.
rental is up. My studio rental is up.
All the money is fleeting.
We're
us.
out
You
of
gotta
money.
go.
Bring them in. Bring them in. I want to talk to them. This is important. This is more important than whoever has that room next. I
He's
can't
from
afford
he's
that.
from he's from South Africa. There's no way he grew up watching Muppets Christmas Carol.
No way. No
Then
way.
he needs to be
This
educated.
man
We
was
need
fighting
spread
apartheid.
good
He's not worried
news.
about puppets.
Okay, what was your question? One last question, Nate. What was your question?
Christmas movie is one of the greatest kind of movies of all time. This is the greatest Christmas movie of all time. If you are great from something great, you are great. This is the top
No.
10 greatest movies.
Christmas
It
Christmas
deserves a spot on
movies-
this list.
Christmas movies are dessert at the end of the year, and there are great desserts. But when you talk about the best meal you've ever had, you don't
Come on.
bring up a piece of cheesecake that you have in the Cheesecake Factory, which is quite delicious, but it doesn't hit this is the greatest meal I've ever had in my life. And that is the difference between me and you, is that
That's what's not in my top 5.
We can right now name 20 other movies that is better than, I would argue, the best Christmas movie that my favorite Christmas movie.
Facts.
I think
There it is.
you're wrong, and I'm glad your room rental.
I can do it right now. Django is above
Don't
that.
do it. Don't 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 do it. We gotta go. We gotta go.
That's false. All right, we'll just end it on this. Damon's going to share his list next week.
Titanic.
Let me know what you think. I on it
Gangs
I'm
in
very
New
excited
York.
about I'm going to go do the cold plunge with Dan, and the whole time it's just going to be Titanic quotes from me, because that's all you're doing when you cold plunge.
Right. All right. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here.
If
Thanks,
cold
y'all.
plunge is
Bye.
so
Bye.
healthy,
Bye.
why did everybody die when the Titanic sank? You know,
He started with a slavery movie, then went to an unintentional suicide movie, and then went to gang related movie. That is that man right there. He needs the sage or something. Then this man, what? That was the first movie he said was a slave movie. You can't start with that. You gotta start with something
Dan needs-
lighthearted.
you know those guys that hold coaches on the sideline. Dan needs a handler for movie
He's a
opinions.
hell. You gotta start
You
with
need
something
somebody
light.
to
I
pull
mean,
him back.
Independence Day. You gotta start with something a little more chill. This man said, "Oh yeah,
Honestly, I would love a whole hour on why Dan thinks Django is better than Muppet Christmas Carol. I just want that. I want that so much. I want somebody to be like, well, this is why.
You see right here when he called him that word, we see
Muppet Christmas Carol, 0.
Muppets don't use slurs. They can never be great. When you see a puppet do a slur, you got something. Until then, it's trash cinema. You hear me? Until then, it's tier 2 cinema.
If you had to, let's just we're gonna wrap after this. Let's say the Muppets remake Django. Now I know you're not the biggest Muppet fan, but most of the time in a Muppet movie, when they do, especially if they remake something, everybody is a Muppet, but there is one human character. So if you could recast Django, everybody is a Muppet except for one character. Who is the one human character in Django you're keeping around?
Oh, Samuel Jackson's character. You gotta keep that. Gotta keep that character straight human. I need all of those emotions to be solid. I need a human face to dictate that type of disrespect and traitorism. I need that without question. No fur on that face.
Now I want the Muppets remaking Django. I want whoever the bad guy is, whether it's Fozzie Bear, I
Yeah.
want him slamming his hand on the table and some fuzz
Yeah.
comes out and he gets
Mhm.
fuzz on Kelly Washington's face instead.
Yep.
Like, all right, we gotta pitch this now.
We gotta pitch this. We gotta pitch Muppets doing racially charged movies. That's what we gotta do. We gotta pitch that right there. Just I wanna see
Django
now-
Unstrung.
I need to see Coach Carter redone with Muppets. That's what I need to see right there.
That's
Selma.
Django, no strings attached.
I need to see. Remember the Titans with Muppets? Just I need in my life. Left side.
Kermit as Django. Just, I like the way you die.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we need in our lives, man. I couldn't tell you 4 Muppets, but that's fun. That's fun though. Is Miss Piggy a Muppet?
Yes.
No,
No, that's a whole nother discussion. Is like, what is a Muppet? Because I mean, because Jim Henson created a ton of things, and so they're like, you know, what are
Big Bird a Muppet?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like Sesame Street, those are all Muppets. But
Are
like
those
Jim Henson
Muppets?
also, yeah,
Those
Jim
aren't
Henson
Muppets.
created. They are Muppets.
No. Those are puppets. Those aren't Muppets. Muppets and puppets similar yet different.
I agree with that, but
Okay.
the Sesame Street cast, they are Muppets. Jim Henson created them. The Muppet Studios
Stop
created
bringing
them.
up
Kermit the
Jim.
Frog. Kermit got his start on Sesame Street.
Yeah, he was a Muppet coming into a puppet territory.
No. He started on Sesame Street.
I hear you as a Muppet, but he was in a puppet community, is what I'm saying.
Listen, there's so few things that I will not discuss with you because we are friends. But I cannot discuss the Muppet versus puppet discussion because then you bring in there's the Creature Studios, you know, all the Ninja Turtles Muppets. Jim Henson created those suits, you know. Labyrinth, are those Muppets? Are they puppets? Are they creatures? There's a lot of nuance to it. Anyway, we're gonna end on this. Thank y'all so much for listening. I honestly, once Dan brought up Django, I think everybody tuned out, and that's fine. But once again, my name is Nathan Owens. You can find me on Twitter at Nate Owens Comedy, Instagram, TikTok, Nathan Owens Comedy, or NathanOwensComedy.com. Asheville next weekend.
Talk about it.
I am there Thursday through Saturday. 3 different shows.
Come on.
You can go to NathanOwensComedy.com. It's got all the details. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, let me know.
Get at me on Instagram, TikTok, OnlyFans, Damon Jr. 2 Austin. I'm coming your way March 21st and 22nd. I got all type of shows gonna be going down. Check me out over there. And then Dallas, I told you once, I'm gonna tell you again. I'm coming. I'm headlining Dallas Comedy Club March 24th. It will be a time. We selling it out. It's gonna be a time. Get at us.
There we go. One more time. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow us across social media. Hashtag 4th and 10. See y'all next week.
Holla. Peace.